So, guys, with Commanders training camp now just around the corner, all eyes are about to shift toward one of the biggest unanswered questions on this roster: who's going to be the true WR2 alongside Terry McLaurin? Washington has been linked to several veteran receivers throughout the offseason, but with camp about to begin, nothing has happened yet. And now a major update has just come out, and it could completely change this entire situation. It could impact the Commanders' plans, the free agent market, and even the direction Adam Peters decides to take heading into Week 1. So let me break down what just happened and why it could be a much bigger deal for Washington than it first appears. What's up, Commanders Nation? Welcome to the NFL Playbook Commanders. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Alright guys, so let's get right into it because this is a pretty big update. Free agent wide receiver Tyreek Hill just posted something on Instagram that, honestly, should worry anybody who was still holding out hope that he ends up in Washington this year. He came right out and said that he has no power left in his injured left leg. And look, if you remember back to Week 4 of last season, this guy tore his ACL, his MCL, his PCL, and his meniscus, all at the same time in the same knee. That is about as brutal as a leg injury gets. He needed 2 separate surgeries just to put that knee back together. And now, about 10 months later, right as training camp is about to open up around the league, he's telling everybody that the power just isn't there yet. Now, think about what that actually means for a guy like Tyreek Hill. This is a player who has built his entire career on pure speed. He's the guy who turns a 5-yard slant into a 60-yard touchdown because he can just explode past everybody on the field. His whole game is built on burst, on that first step, on being able to plant and go before the defender even reacts. But if he can't push off that left leg, if there's no power to drive off of, then that explosiveness is gone. And without the explosiveness, you're not looking at the same player anymore. You're looking at a shell of what he used to be. You can't fake speed in this league, and you definitely can't fake it when the injury is still limiting basic strength in the leg. So realistically, I don't think there's any way he's ready for Week 1, and I honestly don't even know if he passes a physical with any team right now, let alone the Washington Commanders. And even if he does eventually get cleared, there's a real question of how long it takes him to trust that leg again once he's actually back on the field getting hit. So here's where it gets interesting for us as Commanders fans. If Washington was quietly sitting back and waiting to see if Tyreek Hill got healthy before making a decision at receiver, I think it's officially time to move on from that idea. You can't build a plan around a guy who just told the world he has no power in his leg less than 2 weeks before camp starts. And honestly, guys, in my opinion, it's time. It's time for this front office to go get a true wide receiver 2 for this offense. Somebody who can come in, learn the playbook, build some chemistry with Jayden Daniels, and be ready to contribute from day one. And for me, the clear-cut choice, the guy who makes the most sense in every single way, is Stefon Diggs. Let me walk you through why I think this is such an obvious move for the Commanders to make. First off, the guy can still flat-out play. Yeah, he's getting up there in age a little bit, but we're talking about a receiver who just came off a season with over 1,000 yards and 4 touchdowns as the #1 option for a team that made it all the way to the Super Bowl. That's not some washed-up veteran hanging on for one more year. That's a guy who, when healthy, is still one of the more reliable route runners in this entire league. And adding a proven 1,000-yard producer to this roster, even at this stage of his career, would be a massive boost for this offense. Second, think about what this does to the entire receiver room. Right now, honestly, you got Terry McLaurin as your clear #1, and then after that, it's a whole lot of question marks. You've got Antonio Williams coming in as a rookie with a lot of promise but 0 proven track record. You've got Dyami Brown, who has some chemistry with Jayden Daniels from before, but he's coming off a rough year. You've got Treylon Burks, who flashed some real talent, including that unbelievable one-handed grab last season, but he hasn't put together a full year yet. And then you've got McCaffrey and Jaylen Lane, a couple of speed guys who still haven't really established themselves as legitimate starters. So right now, that room is full of unknowns. But you drop Stefon Diggs into that wide receiver 2 spot, and all of a sudden, you've got McLaurin and Diggs running routes together, 2 guys who can win at every level of the field. 2 guys with really strong hands, and then Antonio Williams slotting in as your #3 option working out of the slot. That is a legitimately good group heading into the season. And here's the part people sometimes overlook. Adding Diggs doesn't just upgrade the 2 spot, it actually makes Terry McLaurin better too, and it also raises the floor of that entire wide receiver 3 competition. Because now nobody is being rushed into a bigger role before they're actually ready for it. Defenses can't just roll coverage toward McLaurin all game long if they've also got to account for Diggs on the other side. That means more one-on-one opportunities down the field for Washington's #1 guy. And it also pushes everybody else down the depth chart into roles that actually fit them, instead of forcing young, unproven guys into a bigger role than they're ready for. Third reason, and this one's pretty simple, the Commanders can absolutely afford this. Reports have come out saying Stefon Diggs would be willing to sign a 1-year deal somewhere in the $8 to $12 million range. That's real money, sure, but Washington is sitting with the 3rd most cap space in the entire league right now, somewhere around $44 million available. So even after signing Diggs, you're still looking at roughly $30 million left over to use for the rest of the season if needed, whether that's for extensions, in-season additions, or just carrying it forward. When you can add a proven 1,000-yard receiver and still have that much room left, it's hard to come up with a good reason not to do it. This isn't a situation where the front office has to choose between fixing the receiver's room and keeping flexibility elsewhere on the roster. They can genuinely do both, and that's exactly why waiting this long already feels a little strange to me. And then there's the 4th reason, which might honestly be the biggest one of all. Stefon Diggs wants to be here. He's a DMV guy through and through. He grew up in this area, he played his college ball at Maryland, and from everything he said publicly, he wants to come back home. He's talked about how he never really understood how many fans he had back in this region until he became a free agent and people started asking him if he was coming back. He's talked about how much it would mean to him to play in front of the same fans who watched him grow up as a kid and to do something for this city. And it's not just talk either. He's been spotted training in the Maryland area all offseason with wide receiver coaches, and if you look closely at the footballs he's been using in his workout videos, they're actual Washington Commanders practice footballs. He's even been working out alongside current Commanders players. So, between the interviews, the social media hints, and the training footage, it really does feel like he's been laying the groundwork to make this happen. None of this looks like a coincidence to me. When a guy keeps showing up in the same city, working with the same trainers, and using the same team's footballs, that's usually a pretty good sign of where his head is at. So, when you put all of that together, the talent, the immediate upgrade to the receiver room, the fact that Washington can easily afford it, and the fact that the player himself wants to be here, it just feels like a no-brainer to me. If I'm running this front office, I'm on the phone with Stefon Diggs and his agent today, trying to get something worked out before camp opens. Now, here's the thing though. As of right now, the Commanders haven't made a move. There's been no signing, no real reported urgency from the front office, and that's honestly a little concerning given how close camp is. So, let's talk about why that might be the case. One possibility is that the front office was holding out hope on a Brandon Aiyuk trade earlier this offseason, though that chatter has cooled off quite a bit lately. And look, I get the talent argument there, but with everything that's gone on with him on social media lately, including some public back and forth with Jayden Daniels, and the fact that he's basically said he plans to keep doing that even after signing somewhere, it just feels like a lot of unnecessary drama to bring into a locker room that's trying to build something special. To me, Stefon Diggs makes a whole lot more sense as the priority here. The other, more reasonable explanation is that Washington genuinely wants to use training camp to evaluate the receivers they already have on the roster. They might want to see if Antonio Williams can step up right away as a rookie. They might want to see how Dyami Brown looks getting reunited with Jayden Daniels in this offense. And then you've got that group of Treylon Burks, Luke McCaffrey, and Jalen Lane, guys who all have some intrigue but still need to prove it on the field. From what's being said, Luke McCaffrey has actually looked really sharp coming off his injury, showing good speed and route running. So maybe the front office is thinking, why spend $8 to $12 million on a veteran if one of these younger guys can just take that job and run with it? And look, I understand that logic to a degree, but personally, I still think signing Stefon Diggs is the smarter move regardless of how camp goes. If one of the young guys ends up stepping up too, great, that's just a bonus. But you don't want to head into the season hoping an unproven receiver figures it out on the fly when you could have a guy who's basically automatic for 1,000 yards already sitting there ready to go and actively wanting to sign with you. So that's where things stand right now. Tyreek Hill admitting he has no power in that leg is a pretty clear signal that Washington needs to move on and find its wide receiver 2 somewhere else. And in my opinion, that somewhere else should be Stefon Diggs. He upgrades this offense in almost every way you can measure, he fits the budget, and he genuinely wants to be a Commander. Now I want to hear from you guys. Do you think Washington actually gets this done before camp opens up? Or do they stick with the guys already on the roster and roll the dice on one of these younger receivers stepping up? Drop your thoughts down in the comments and let me know if you're Team Diggs or if you think the front office should stay patient and let camp play out first. Personally, I don't think there's a downside to moving fast here. The worst case scenario is you end up with too many good options at receiver, and honestly, that's a problem every team in this league would love to have. Either way, camp is right around the corner, practices kick off soon, and we are going to be all over every single update as it happens. Whether that's assigning a surprise standout in camp, or more news on where Tyreek Hill stands. So, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss a thing, because this receiver situation is about to move fast one way or another.